Welcome, everybody. This is Patrick Snow, host of the Patrick and Mary Unstoppable Author Interview Series, where we interview authors, speakers, coaches, consultants, and comedians from all over the world to help you get what we all want: more time, more money, more freedom, more health, more love, and more happiness in life. Today, our special guest is a highly accomplished guru in many areas, but he's also got a great sense of humor. So you're probably going to have some fun with this, as I will as well. Our guest is Kevin Knebl. If you want to follow along online, you can visit his website, kevinknebl.com. He is an incredible thought leader and influencer. He's an international professional keynote speaker, best-selling author, trainer, executive coach, whose clients include individuals, both small and medium, and Fortune 500 companies. He's an in-demand leading authority on success, resilience, clarity, social selling, relationship marketing, with regards to LinkedIn, Twitter, X, with a healthy dose of inspiration, transformational insight, and humor blended in for conferences, conventions, company trainings, and many other events. Kevin is the co-author of the best-selling book, The Social Media Sales Revolution: The New Rules for Finding Customers, Building Relationships, and Closing More Sales Through Online Marketing, published by McGraw-Hill. Kevin is also a contributing author of Learning Marketing with Social Media in 7 Days, published by John Wiley & Sons. Kevin's background includes being the top salesperson for 4 separate companies in 4 different industries, including being the top salesperson in the world for an international consulting company with more than 300 salespeople in 15 countries. He has trained hundreds of organizations and tens of thousands of professionals on the most profitable uses of LinkedIn, social selling, and relationship marketing since 2004. Kevin is also the most individually handwritten more than 1,840 recommendations on LinkedIn on the profile. So Kevin, if you haven't written a profile recommendation for me, I'm going to ask you to make that 1841. So we'll make that happen, hopefully. And this is among more than 1 billion, if I can count the zeros correctly, 1 billion LinkedIn users worldwide. He says he has a face for radio, but you'll see that he's got all kinds of TV accolades here. He can be reached at kevinknebl.com. If you want to email him direct, you can also email him at kevinknebl.com. And by the way, he comes to us today from Colorado Springs, Colorado. So please join me in welcoming our special guest, Mr. Kevin Knebl.
Thank you, Patrick. That's very kind of you. Just to be clear, it's Kevin at kevinknebl.com. And it's not that I've written over 1,800 recommendations for other people. It's that over 1,800 people have written recommendations for me on my profile. So just for clarity, that's all. But Patrick, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here. And it's great to see other people. And some of these people I know and I love. It's so wonderful to see you all. Thank you, Patrick.
Yeah, special shout out to Mr. Mark Madison, the granddaddy of them all. And he is, I could not do this interview without him adding his insights. And we're going to go about an hour with maybe about 15, 20-minute Q&A. And I totally screwed up the recommendation things, but I didn't screw up the face made for radio. You're a handsome looking man, and you deserve to be on TV. So I'm so excited about this. Let's go back to the beginning, because we've known each other for at least 15 years, maybe more.
Yeah.
I remember I played ping pong with you in your basement there, and I think you beat me 3 out of 5, and I kept it close back in the day. But take us back to the beginning. How did we originally meet up?
Well, the way we met is I was actually in an audience in Colorado Springs shortly after I moved to Colorado Springs from New Jersey in the Witness Relocation Program. And I was at a presentation. You were on stage. I thought you were phenomenal. Afterwards, I think I bought your book. I asked you to sign it. And then a couple of years after that, I was contemplating leaving my sales career and going into speaking and coaching. And then I thought, well, that guy, Patrick Snow, knows something about that. I should reach out to him and kind of pick his brain a little bit. And I called you and I had a complimentary session with you. And then I hired you. And then you helped me kind of get some thoughts together in terms of writing my first book and learning how to do some speaking. And then you led me to Mark Madison. And then one time I was in Edmonds, Washington, and the three of us went out to dinner. So I love you guys like brothers. And I can't believe that's like 15 or 20 years ago. That's crazy.
Well, you have been the easiest client that I've ever had in my entire life. You gave me a whole bunch of money to hire me. I think I played a couple games of ping pong with you. I did one coaching call and I said, Kevin, I've seen your videos. You're a rock star. You're amazing. The problem is you're charging like $2,500 for speaking, and you should be charging $25,000 for speaking.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I think I'm going to raise my fees. So
Yeah.
we did one coaching call. You
Yep.
raised your fees. I hadn't heard from you for months and months, and I thought this guy quit on me. And then you called me back and you said, what happened after that?
Well, I just kept raising them and raising them. And I got my money back from whatever I invested in you financially, Patrick, I earned back in one call.
Yeah.
And anything after that, I considered gravy. Still do, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said, Kev, you really should be charging more for the value that you're delivering. Of course, like a lot of people in my mind, I was like, am I worthy? Your mind does some funny stuff sometimes. But then I thought, what the hell? I'll give it a shot. Let's see what happens. And immediately, once I doubled my fees, there was no pushback. People were like, okay, do you take a credit card? And I was like, this Snow guy's a genius, man. So it's been a fun ride ever since, and I'm just so glad that our paths crossed, Patrick. I remember visiting you on Bainbridge Island. I remember when you were doing play-by-play at a lacrosse event, I think in Paulsbo or someplace. Yeah, you have been such a blessing in my life in so many ways. So thank you.
Yeah, well, I'm grateful. And I remember you came up to the booth and I was doing the play-by-play and we called that game together. And maybe I missed my calling. I could have been like an Al Michaels or something, but instead I went the route of doing coaching. So anyways, let's get back to your New Jersey, uproots.
Yeah.
I think you ran around with the mafia for a little bit and you were part of the whole big HBO special with Jimmy. What's his name? Talk about growing up in New Jersey and then talk about how you ended up playing the piano.
So I grew up in northern New Jersey, but when you tell people you're originally from New Jersey, they either think you're Tony Soprano or Snooki. But I actually grew up in a part of New Jersey that was more like Mayberry, and I was more like Opie. For the millennials watching this, Google it, whippersnappers. So I grew up in the country, cows, horses, tadpoles, fishing. I went to college for music. I'm a classically trained piano player, but nobody pays you for Rachmaninoff and Mozart. So I used to play piano for a living, Elton John, Billy Joel, Bruce Hornsby. And then when I got married in the early 90s, I was booked to play a wedding because I played a lot of weddings. And I ended up marrying a woman who booked me to play at her wedding to another man. That's another seminar for another time. I got married and I quickly figured out that I needed to make more money because my family had bad habits like wanting to live indoors and eat warm food. So this was pre-internet. Thank you, Al Gore. And I was forced to get into sales. So I got into sales, which was the last thing in the world I ever wanted to do. But I had some mentors that taught me if you're going to succeed long term, it's not necessarily about product knowledge, it's about connecting with human beings. So then I went and I started studying books like How to Win Friends and Influence People and Think and Grow Rich and The Law of Success, which Napoleon Hill wrote before Think and Grow Rich. And I ended up doing pretty well in sales. And then one day I heard this guy, Patrick Snow, and I was like, man, he looks like he's having a lot of fun. I should probably get out of sales and start speaking and coaching. And here we are.
And here we are. I love it. I love it. I can't believe you serenaded your wife with the piano and she left him and joined you. I mean, there should be a movie produced about that.
Well, when that happened, I kind of figured out maybe I could do this sales thing.
Yeah. Your confidence in selling shot through the roof.
Right.
So let's talk about before the internet.
Yeah.
What was it? Rolodex cards? I remember I got one of those Casio organizers and I type in all the phone numbers. And I
Yeah.
think at one point I had like 100, 150 people in my Casio little computer. It was like a sideways thing. It was like this.
Yeah.
And I type in, it flipped open, and I put all the Rolodex names in there. Talk about your early experience with networking.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Well,
and then talk about from there, how did the internet change your perspective on networking?
yeah, it's a great question. So, would you agree with me, Patrick, that we become more knowledgeable about things that we put time and focus and attention on, and we remain less knowledgeable about things we don't put time and focus and attention on?
Absolutely.
Right, but that's no indication of intelligence or lack thereof. It's just an indication of time and focus and attention. So, a weirdo like me, when I first got into sales back in 1992, I said to myself, well, I need to learn a little bit about more about human nature because I'm working with humans, and I need to learn a little bit more about how to get clients and get referrals. So, why don't I study this thing called networking? And networking is basically a $5 word for creating mutually beneficial win-win relationships. So I started reading things like How to Win Friends and Influence People and Think and Grow Rich and Endless Referrals by Bob Berg, which is gold. And so before using the internet, I had a pretty good understanding of what networking is. Not necessarily going to a Chamber of Commerce meeting and throwing business cards at people, but I really understood, okay, how do you do networking professionally? So prior to the invention of the internet, I had already built some understanding of that in my mind, and I had also had the results in the real world outside of my mind. Then in 2003, 60 days after LinkedIn launched, and it launched on Cinco de Mayo, 5th of May, 2003, and I'm not a tech guy. People often think, oh, Kevin's the social media guru, he must be a tech guy. And then I always appeal to people's common sense, and I go, well, Patrick, you drive a car, but that doesn't mean you know how to fix a transmission, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So when I got an invitation to get on LinkedIn, I looked at it and I went, oh, this is an online Rolodex. I already know what to do with a Rolodex. I think this will be a handy tool. I never imagined that I would ultimately leave my job and travel around the world and all this other stuff. To me, it was just another tool another arrow in my quiver in terms of client acquisition and referral creation. So I started using LinkedIn. And kind of what I'm alluding to there is most people don't know what to do with LinkedIn, not because they're unintelligent, but because they don't understand networking to begin with. If you don't know how to drive, it doesn't matter if I give you a 1974 lime green rusted out Pacer or if I give you a 2020 Lamborghini Diablo. The bottom line is you don't know how to drive. So again, not knowing how to drive doesn't mean you're stupid. It just means you haven't put time and focus and attention on learning how to drive. So there's a bit of an illusion going on here. People look at me and they go, oh, Kevin's the LinkedIn guy. And I go, do you call Picasso the canvas guy? And then I go, do you call Mario Andretti, the race car driver, the stick shift guy? These are all metaphors, right? And I go, yes, I know a lot about LinkedIn, but really what I know about is how to create sincere and authentic, and those words are key, sincere and authentic, know, like, trust in the mind of a stranger. Bob Berg says, all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to people that they know, like, and trust. Anybody hear that old school analog phone in my background? How about that, man? I've got an iPhone with the Grateful Dead on the back, but there's an old school analog phone. So, and it's so ironic that that's ringing right now because no matter how much technology advances, what you're hearing is a communication device. If a person has good communication skills, the device is almost irrelevant. It doesn't matter if it's a phone, LinkedIn, Facebook, carrier pigeon, smoke signals. So,
or in person, or in person.
Or in person. So that's my story, Patrick.
Okay, we're going to get right back into social media in a minute, but with all the success you had in selling, give us your best 2 or 3 or 4 sales tips to succeed as an entrepreneur?
Well, here's a book I just had delivered to my house the other day. It's called Shut the F Up and Listen. Okay.
Mm.
I haven't even cracked the cover yet. It's written by a guy named Matt Halloran. So, Matt, if you ever see this, love you, brother. Don't know you, couldn't pick you out of a lineup. But I came across this book. And so, to answer your question, Patrick, again, we become more knowledgeable about things we put time and attention and focus on. Most people go through their entire life without really ever putting time and attention and focus on listening skills. So Dale Carnegie, in his book, he has 30 principles. One of those principles is take a sincere interest in other people. The key word being sincere. Most people do not do that. Most people are not really listening well. And when the other person's talking, they're not even listening. They're formulating the next question. One of the things that enabled me to do quite well in sales was to not do that, was to actually be present in the moment. I'm not trying to sound woo-woo, okay? But actually be here now and be in the room with the other person and actually hear what they're saying and also what they're not saying. But you can't do that when your mind is going Mach 5 trying to look like the smartest person in the room or ask really intelligent questions. Most people are just not comfortable enough with themselves to actually be present.
So in
Because
other words, you're saying to listen your way into a sale.
if you really listen to other human beings, life becomes very simple. The reason why most people struggle is because their mind is going so fast and they're tripping over their brain. And if you really slow yourself, see, success is not achieved by accelerating. Success is not achieved by addition, it's achieved by subtraction. And I'm not trying to sound like Yoda, okay? Have you ever noticed that you never solved any problems in any area of your life by adding complexity to it? It's
Mm.
always a reduction. It's a reduction back to what are the primary principles that lead to the accomplishment of whatever it is I'm trying to do, right? So I'm a really simple guy. Simple is not stupid. Simple is just sticking to fundamental principles. So if a person wants to do well in sales, it might be helpful to kind of get better at listening to other people because the other person is telling you more than you're even realizing. How does that factor into social media? Well, last night I was doing a seminar here in Colorado Springs and I was teaching the audience your prospects are telling you everything you need to know to get them into a conversation if you will shut up and just read what they're
No,
writing.
not shut up. Shut the F up.
Shut the F up. Yeah, exactly. If you will just shut up and read what they're putting on their LinkedIn profile or Facebook or whatever, you're not a stalker. It's actually a sign of respect that you would take 5 minutes and actually read what they took the time to write. But we've been innocently taught in our crazy society to ignore everything they're telling you and go for the elevator pitch. That's insane.
Mm.
If the prospect is telling you where they went to school, how long they've had their job, what they like doing on the weekends, that doesn't mean you disclose everything in the initial meeting and freak them out. But wouldn't it be helpful to know this information? Because that would enable you to create some sincere and authentic know, like, trust. It's so simple. Success is the simplest thing in the world when you understand the principles behind it. But if you're struggling to get success, that's nothing more than an indication that you don't understand the principles. Make sense?
Absolutely. Our guest today, Kevin Knebl. Website, kevinknebl.com. You want to email him at kevinknebl.com. He's author of the book, The Social Media Sales Revolution, The New Rules for Finding Customers, Building Relationships, and Closing More Sales Through Online Marketing.
Online networking.
Online networking. This guy is a genius, and I am taking like page after page of notes here. So let's go back in time. It's now 2003. I didn't realize it was May of 2003, Cinco de Mayo, when LinkedIn came about.
Yeah.
It seems to me that around that same time, Facebook came around. Instagram was obviously way later. We had MySpace before that.
Yeah.
Twitter then came, Google Plus. I don't even know if Google Plus is still around, LinkedIn, and now we got YouTube and TikTok. Talk about real quick in the
Yes.
early days, who are the major players? Because this is the stereotype in my mind that I have. MySpace was for teenagers that for the first time they could, try to look sexy and cool and hip and put themselves out there, and the parents couldn't see be their MySpace. And then Instagram right now is like, I think Instagram is like 35 and younger, and they're just trying to be hip.
Yeah.
And, at 56, I'm maybe too old for Instagram. But, so I have an Instagram account. Don't remember my password. Might look at it once every 6 years.
Yeah.
Twitter and X, I've always thought has been for sports and politics.
Yeah.
Google Plus, I don't even know if they're still around. And then LinkedIn, I've kind of always viewed as I quit my job at 34 years old, been unemployed now for 22 years. Haven't worked a day in my life in 22 years, not working today. This is fun. I love what I do, but I've always looked at LinkedIn as for the career climbers trying to get their resume to get a higher paying job. So can you give us like your insights on like the niche that each one of them plays and what's the difference and how do
Absolutely.
which ones do I use? Because I kind of have an account with all of them, but I'm more of a Facebook guy than anybody else. How do we sort
Yeah.
through that mess?
So let's make it really simple. There's no reason to complicate it. So I was never a tech guy. I'm not a tech guy now, and I don't think I'm ever going to be a tech guy. Um, Back in the early 2000s, there was something called MySpace. I really know very little about it because I was never on it. I'm an old school analog, face to face, belly to belly, cigar to cigar, scotch to scotch kind of guy. So the way it looks to me, Patrick, is there was this MySpace thing. LinkedIn launched in May of 2003. Facebook and Twitter came out about 2 years later. So LinkedIn predated Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all those other things. And I'm a really simple guy. Patrick, would you agree with me that if you're going to go fishing, it might be smart to go where the fish are?
Yeah, fish where the chum are. That's what my friend Benny Morris always taught me. Fish where
Oh,
the chum are.
so let's not overcomplicate this. When I first got the invitation to get on LinkedIn in July of 2003, I looked at it and I said, I'm in sales now. I'm kind of clueless about what I'm doing, but well, no, I wasn't clueless at that point. At that point, I knew what I was doing. But I said, this is a Rolodex, and it probably has the kind of people that I want to do business with and receive referrals from. So maybe it might be smart for me to kind of fish in this pool a little bit. Okay. So we don't have to overthink this. So I initially got involved with LinkedIn. 2 years later, Facebook came out. Now, I like to have fun. Adults are just kids with long, hairy legs, and I have not forgotten that, even though most adults have forgotten that. Just look around, okay? So when Facebook came out, I said, well, that's kind of like an online mosh pit. I like mosh pits. This could be fun. So I jumped into Facebook. A year or so later, Twitter came out, and I thought, well, that's kind of fun, real-time updates. But it's See, I don't even look at it as social media. I just look at it as these are communication channels. These are bodies of water in which the fish that I would like to reel in reside. Maybe, just maybe, I should maybe check out these bodies of water. So LinkedIn is primarily a business platform. Facebook is more of an online mosh pit. So Patrick, you said something really interesting a couple of minutes ago. You basically shared with me and everybody that's watching this and all the people in the future that are watching this. Hello, people in the future. You didn't give us facts. You gave us your opinion. And
Yes.
I'm not criticizing that. I'm just calling a spade a spade.
Yes.
I'm saying you shared with us how it looks to you. And
Yeah.
what you said was, well, Facebook looks like, a bunch of kids, and MySpace was a bunch of people, young kids hiding from their parents, and Twitter. So when people give me their opinions on social media, I don't tell them they're wrong. That's a great way to lose friends and alienate people, right?
Lose friends and uninfluenced people.
Right. I just smile and nod politely because if I believed what they believed, that's what I'd be thinking too. Pause
Yeah.
for effect.
Yeah.
Right? The challenge is most people are so busy because their self-image is so unbelievably low, they don't even realize that their primary motive from the moment they wake up in the morning till the moment they go to bed is trying to be right. And
Mm.
therefore they get into arguments. By the way, arguing is for amateurs. Professionals don't argue. Okay. So when people talk, nod politely, realize they're not stupid. They're just sharing the way the world looks to them. And if you shut the F up and listen, that's really helpful to know. Because if I know how the world looks to you, I don't have to tell you you're wrong. I just have to tell you, and maybe with a little humor, how it looks to me. It's like when people say to me, Kevin, tell me about your coaching. And I say, well, if I said to you, tell me about the meal you ate last night, you can't really do it. There's nothing that will even come close to me actually tasting the meal. So when people ask me, Kevin, tell me about your coaching, I don't get into a long discussion about my coaching. We just set up a complimentary coaching session so they can get a taste of the meal. But if somebody put a gun to my head and said, Kev, what's coaching look like to you? Here's my answer. Here's how I coach people. And I help people make hundreds of millions of dollars, and I have all the evidence to back it up. The way it looks to me is you tell me how the world looks to you, I tell you how the world looks to me, and we compare notes. Not to make one of us right or wrong, but just it's very helpful for you to get an insight into how I see things. There might be some nuggets in there. I get an insight into how you see some things. I might get some. Isn't this a much more frictionless, enjoyable, pleasant way to go through life instead of always trying to look like the smartest effing person in every room you go into? You see, people just want to be happy. They just don't know, they don't realize where happiness resides, and they go try to find it in a million things until they finally wake up and they go, oh my God, I'm happiness itself, other than what I'm thinking and believing. So that was not really what you asked me. But if you're going to go fishing, go where the fish are. If you're in business, there's business people on LinkedIn. If you want to have some fun with people, go have fun with people on Facebook. If you want to get some updates in real time without it going through the propaganda media, go on X, right?
Yeah.
If you want to look at pictures, if you're in a business that's got a lot of, it's got a very visual appeal to it. There was a guy last night that was at my seminar who is a fishing guide. He should be on Instagram posting pictures of fish, right? That does not mean he can't post pictures of fish on LinkedIn, but that platform is suited for visual pictures, right? Is that helping, Patrick?
Yeah, and then I got a question here. And I'm looking at everybody that's on this live call, and I admire all of you, and I don't think all of any of you on this call have made this mistake. Everybody that I highly respect, because I have friends that are far right, hardcore, far right, conservative Christian Republicans. I have friends that are far left, liberal, whatever else. And I'm more in the middle. I'm a constitutionalist. I'm all about the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and freedom and less government. My point is, I am so entertained when I watch all my friends on social media start blabbing their political opinions all over. And then I look at their friends, and then, before the election, they got 5,000 friends. And then after the election, they have 4,000 friends. And then after the State of Union address, they got 2,500 friends. They're just totally shooting themselves in the foot. What advice do you have about why people shouldn't post their political opinions on social media?
Um, it's not always what we say, it's how we say it.
Yeah.
So by the way, that's your claim, not mine. I didn't
Yeah.
say you shouldn't post your political views on social media.
Yeah.
I can use 7 words in a row in exactly the same order and have it mean 7 different things.
Yeah.
I didn't say she stole the purse. 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 So it's not always what we say, it's how we say it.
Yeah.
This kind of goes back to what I was saying a minute ago about arguing is for amateurs.
Yes.
The primary reason why people post their political views, and I'm not saying that's bad, I'm just saying the primary reason is because they're trying to be right.
Mm.
I'm not saying that's bad, but it might be helpful, just like before you open your mouth, before you post something on the world's largest electronic bathroom wall known as the internet, it might be smart to ask yourself, why am I about to say what I'm about to say? And how could this potentially work out? I'm not saying you want to psychoanalyze everything that comes out. Just common sense, which is not common. Common sense would say, before I tell my wife, you're looking a little chubby, maybe I should ask myself, what's the goal in me saying this? And
Yeah.
and
And how
is there a better way for
out?
me might there be a better way for me to say this?
Yeah, and how comfortable is the couch to sleep on, or how cold is it?
Right? How hard do you want to get smacked in the face?
That's right. Yeah. Does Mark Madison want to sleep on his deck when it's raining out in Washington State, or would he rather lay in bed with his beautiful wife?
Yeah. Love it. Okay, so
have you ever noticed, Mark? Have you ever noticed, Patrick, that no matter what the subject, all roads lead to common sense?
I love it.
That simple insight eludes most of us, partly because we just live in such a fast-paced society. We don't slow down enough to actually go, what the hell's going on here?
Right? All right. So if people want to get your LinkedIn Ninja tips,
sure,
they can email you at kevin@kevinknebl.com.
And they should say, hey, I was listening to your goofy jokes on Mary and Patrick's interview. Send me your LinkedIn tips.
Okay, so these these LinkedIn Ninja tips, do they work on Facebook? Do they work on X? Do they work on others? Or is it just LinkedIn? And by the way, if you have a few moments, give us what some of these tips are.
Do you see this stone rock?
Yeah.
This has been in my pocket for 20 years. Every time I'm on stage, and I've been on thousands of stages all around the world, every time I'm on stage, this is in my hand, but the audience doesn't know it. Okay? The reason it's in my hand is because it reminds me that my message is really love, but I'm not trying to sound woo-woo. Okay? So here's part of the answer to your question. Do you notice, Patrick, how every time I drop this, it goes down?
Yes.
Well, if Valerie were to do this, by the way, Valerie and I have different color skin and we're different genders. If Valerie and I was to do this, it would drop exactly the way I'm doing it. If the other guy, that I forget his name, I can't see him on the picture right now, but I know he's in Scottsdale or Phoenix. If he were to do it, it would do the same thing. If Mary were to do this right now in Paulsboro, and if Mary was to identify as a farm animal, gravity doesn't care, because gravity is a principle. So the answer to your question, Patrick, is I teach strategies and techniques, but those are secondary to principles. If you understand the principle of gravity, you won't walk off a building, okay? Because you understand that's probably not going to end well. Also, if you understand the principle of gravity, then you realize anytime I drop something, it's going to go down. That's kind of a good thing to know. So if my LinkedIn tips, some of them might be specific to LinkedIn because of the way LinkedIn's platform works, but they're all rooted in the principle behind know, like, trust. So the principle, if I email you my LinkedIn tips, more than likely you could go, oh, I could do this on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and whatever platform they invent next week. Because I look at it like it's that's why I can help my clients make so much money. They're all getting distracted by, oh, this is a Biden thing, it's a Trump thing, it's a Maui versus Edmonds, Washington thing. It's a good economy, bad economy. And then I come along and I go, no, it's none of that. All things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to people they know, like, and trust. You just keep innocently getting distracted off of that basic principle. The only thing I have going for me is I'm so damn simple that no matter what comes down the pike, I never deviate off of know, like, trust. And therefore, I will win. I'm like the house in Vegas. You sit at the table long enough, I'm going to win, okay? So are you when I teach you the principles behind how to be the house at Vegas. So the LinkedIn tips, yes, some of them are kind of specific to LinkedIn, but overall, it's all about how do you create sincere and authentic know, like, trust with a stranger, and how does that lead to success in whatever it is you're looking to accomplish in life. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So if you want this list, email kevin@kevinknebl.com.
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn Ninja Tips. Why don't you give us your 5 best online social media marketing client attraction tips?
Okay.
Best 5, could be best 7 that you offer in your coaching that you help people.
Well, off the top of my head, what most people, if you look at LinkedIn, it's a Rolodex, right? If you understand the whole know, like, trust thing, when you meet somebody at a networking meeting or a cocktail party, have you ever met the guy or the gal, Patrick, that's always trying to look like the smartest person in the room?
Yeah, yeah.
They will nod intellectually when you ask them if it's all about know, like, trust. Everybody goes, yeah, yeah, yeah. But just because you have an intellectual understanding of something doesn't mean you understand how it works in the real world. And that's not an indication that you're stupid. If you look at most people's LinkedIn profiles, it's just all this business crap and there's no humanity to it. So when I work with my clients, the first thing we do, because first impressions are important, is we make their LinkedIn profile within their personality, within their comfort zone, a blend of business professional and warm, friendly human. We're not trying to make them look like your new best friend. We're not trying to make them look like they're leading the conga line with a lampshade on their head. We're just trying to create a blend so the people that you enjoy meeting at a cocktail party or at the supermarket or the post office are typically the people that are a blend of business professional and warm, friendly human. If you email me for my tips, there'll be some tips in there on how to make your LinkedIn profile more human. That's the number one thing that most people miss, is they're trying too damn hard to look like they're so smart instead of realizing just be a human, okay? So that's number one. Number two, if you went to a networking meeting once per year, it would be naive to think you're going to get much out of the networking meeting. It might be a lot smarter to get on LinkedIn 5 days a week for 10 minutes per day. Everything I teach is taught in how do you see, if you go into a gym and you spend 5 hours in a gym, you're probably going to hurt yourself. But if you know how to get in the gym and exercise certain muscle groups, get in the gym, exercise the muscle group, go live your life. It's the same thing with social media, right? So with LinkedIn, I would suggest, instead of getting on LinkedIn once a week or once a month or once a year, it might be a little smarter to actually get on once a day, 5 days a week for 5 or 10 minutes and start to network, start to build relationships, start to comment on other people's stuff, start to post stuff yourself. Again, I could go for hours on what you should post, what you shouldn't post. We don't have the time for that. I'm just saying, if you joined a gym and you went once a month, you're an idiot, right? But if you went a couple times a week, you might see some results. So there's a couple tips. Another tip would be, it's so simple to get on LinkedIn. Patrick, if you said to me, Kevin, I'm looking for event planners to hire me for my speaking business, I could literally show you in 60 seconds how to find every event planner in any industry, any of 400 industries, based on job title, demographics, employee size. I could show you how to find those people and literally click a button and put it on autopilot. So once a week, LinkedIn emails you and says, Patrick, here's a bunch more that we found this week. And I could show you how to open up conversations in a way that the door wouldn't get slammed in your face. So if you're going to go fishing, it would be good to go where the fish are. I'll show you how to find the fish down to eye color based on any number of criteria. Again, I could go all day, but that's probably enough to chew on. Do you think?
Yeah, I'm absolutely loving that. And you brought up something about daily, and now we have AI.
Yeah.
And one of my challenges, my wife goes to bed early, 8:30. I don't go to bed till 10:15. So now I got an hour and a half of my time. And then every part of me as an author, I want to write a chapter for my next book. I want to write a new poem that I've been working on. I want to, and certainly I oftentimes will work out and lift weights in the evening while I'm listening to, an audiobook or a podcast, and I do a lot of that. But then after I'm done with that, I got 45 minutes. And then I sit down, I'm like, I should do this, but then I end up putting on Facebook. And then that darn AI, I watch a Facebook video. and I watched this Mercedes-Benz, you know, decked out $400,000 pop-up camper Mercedes-Benz van, and I'm just watching it and I'm in awe. And then AI recognizes that I spent 3 minutes watching this video. And then another Mercedes-Benz van comes up in another color. And then I watch that. And then I play fantasy football. And no, there's news that Deebo Samuel got traded from the 49ers to the Commanders. So I watch that. And then I'm trying to beat my buddies in fantasy football. So it goes back from Mercedes-Benz vans to professional speakers to comedians. And then all of a sudden back to Mercedes-Benz. Then AI just keeps sending. All of a sudden an hour has gone by. And I've lost a freaking hour, and I've not actually done anything on social media except had this. So what is the effect? 2 questions here that AI is having on social media. And the second question is, how do we minimize how much time that we spend? Because what you said is proactively on social media, commenting on posts, networking, communicating, sending messages. That's good social media time. But just to be mindless, sitting and watching fantasy football players, who am I going to snag off the free agent wire so I can, trash talk my buddy next week after I beat him? Hopefully. A lot of times I lose, more times than not, because I trade too much. My point of it is, how do we harness and make the most of social media instead of blindly going off on being a video watcher? I never wanted to be a professional video watcher, but there are many nights I'm a professional video watcher.
Yeah. Refresh my memory. How do we spell ADHD? So, Patrick, you're going to take what I'm about to say in the loving way that I intend it. But somebody that doesn't know that you and I are good friends would take this as an attack.
Yep.
Everything you just described, I'm going to summarize everything that you just said. Kevin, I don't know how to control my mind. I let my mind control me.
Wow.
That's what you just said.
Wow.
Okay? Because, Kevin, I'm looking at campers. Then I'm looking at trades on my fantasy football team. Then I'm like, and all that is, and by the way, this makes you nothing more than normal.
Human.
We live in a society that is designed to do exactly what you just described. Okay. So I could go for hours on this, but we don't have hours. All you need is a plan. You just need a simple plan. And if I sat down with you for 10 minutes, I could say, okay, Patrick, you're a big boy. If I could promise you, if I could write out a simple plan of what to do on social media for maybe 30 minutes a night after your beautiful wife goes to bed, and if I could promise you it would put a couple $100,000 in your pocket after taxes every year, would you do it? You see, it's a matter of desire. That's all it is, right?
Yeah.
So what? But then once I give you a simple checklist, do this. This is what I do with my clients. I say, because it's so easy. If you don't have a plan, you're just going to be led by the nose to, they're going to take you over here and you're going to go over. And before you know it, 5 hours go by. It's 2:30 in the morning. You're on Amazon buying shit you don't want. And you're like, what the hell am I doing? Right.
Yeah.
But if you had a plan and I go, okay, make sure you check off this, you check off this, you check off this. Small efforts repeated over time produce massive results. The key is just consistency. If you have a simple plan, it doesn't have to be complex. Complexity is never the answer. Never. But I'm not trying to get you to believe something. I'm just trying to get you to understand how something works. If you have a belief that the answer lies in complexity, show me the evidence. It does not. Okay? I will show you all the evidence that everything you want is rooted in simplicity. Okay? So if you have a simple plan, I need to do these things, boom, 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 every night for 15 or 20 minutes, 5 days a week, there is no way in the world you're not going to win. Because if you had a strategy of going into the gym and you're like, okay, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this, your body has an intelligence built into it that even if you don't want it to become stronger, if you do the things that lead to health and strength, even if you didn't want it, it's going to, because that's a principle. The body has the intelligence built into it. Does that help?
It sure does. So next question is, so often all these social media people used to post here and post there and make comments here and comments there. And now it seems like every time you're on social media, you're seeing people doing this. They got their selfie video stick and they're constantly shooting videos of themselves. How has selfie videos changed social media marketing strategies?
I have no idea. Pause for effect. I'm not in the marketing business, but I'm
Yeah.
not putting down the marketing business. This is an illusion. People think that I am a marketing genius. I am not a marketing genius, and that is not false humility. I am a relationship guy who focuses on know, like, trust. So I have no understanding really of algorithms and selfies. I know that all roads lead to know, like, trust. By the way, I have never once in my life created a video like this and put it on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, but I'm not putting that down. I'm pointing out the evidence that without doing that, I've been quite successful.
Yes.
So the evidence would say that is not a prerequisite, but I'm not putting it down. I meet lots of people that want to become speakers and they think I got to make a great promo reel and I got to have a website that smells colors and I have to be able to realign the planets. And I'm like, I never did any of that crap. I just listened to Patrick Snow and I started falling in love with people and building know, like, trust with people. And all of a sudden people started paying me $15, $20, $25,000 an hour to stand on stage. But I'm not saying that it doesn't hurt, it doesn't help to have a website or a newsletter. I'm just saying those are not prerequisites. If you want to record videos and put them on social media, go ahead, but always remember, what's the goal? The goal should be, is what I'm about to post going to lead to know, like, trust, or is it going to lead to me being more and more narcissistic?
Mm. And unfortunately, that second part oftentimes can happen. And again,
Oh,
without
yeah.
being judgment,
Oh, yeah.
you know, yeah,
And
I'm the same way.
it's not hard to see, right?
Yeah.
Look
I'm
at me, look at me. You see all the videos of people on, oh, look at my butt. I was in the gym. Look at my butt. That's all just, they should just hold up a sign saying, I have the lowest self image on the planet. But don't call them wrong, because if you believed what they believe, you'd do the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm just closing my mouth and listening with my eyes.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
going, oh, they think that looking like they're really thin, that leads to them. Again, I'm not trying to be judgmental or critical. I'm just saying, when your little boy comes in your room when he's 3 years old and think there's a monster in the closet, that's what he believes. He's not stupid. He just
Yeah.
has this idea that there's a monster, but you know better, but you don't smack him and go, hey, stupid. You just say, hey, come sleep with mom and I tonight. Because it creates when I see all the narcissistic shit that people put on social media, that creates compassion in me, not because I'm better than them, but because I know there's no monster in the closet.
Yeah.
I know that success does not lie in me showing off my quads. I know success is a result of me delivering value to you in some way that leads you to accomplishing what it is you're trying to see. Success is so simple. I wake up in the morning and I say to myself, every human being that God puts in my path, I have the ability to deliver value to in some way. That's my
Yeah.
goal. That was my entire goal getting on this interview, not to talk about me. Am I speaking? No. How can I deliver value to the people that watch this? Everything
Yeah.
else will take care of itself.
Yeah. And not to be
Patrick,
a dead drum, but
Patrick,
I recently saw someone, they have a interior of a Learjet, like in a studio, and they rent that out so these influencers can come into this Learjet, take a bunch of videos, and it looks like they're on a Learjet plane, but they're actually in someone's barn or garage, and then they take and post all this videos, or they rent the Lamborghini for 1 hour because that's all they can afford it, and then they take the pictures as if it's their Lamborghini, their Learjet, their yacht that they rented. And you're right. No reason to make fun of that. It's just that that's how some people think.
Patrick, what would be more of an influencer? Somebody that's trying to look like they have it all together, or somebody that says, you've somehow entered my life, how can I help you?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I think it all comes back to this phrase that I wrote down, and I got so many notes here. Um, Being sincere and authentic to people that know, like, and trust, and share that with complete strangers. I mean, that's probably the most wise thing that you've said all day.
I am quite clear of my function.
Yeah. Wow.
Most people are not. My function is to be a bringer of light and to help people accomplish, because every human being that I meet is a beautiful divine creation of God designed for greatness and worthy of the desires of their heart. They've just innocently forgotten that. And part of my job is to help them just gently and with a little bit of humor remember that. Kids know that, by the way, but they innocently forget it over time. I help people kind of reconnect with their inner child. And the irony of ironies is when you reconnect with your inner child with all the knowledge you've learned over the years, you can print money.
So in essence, I think what you're saying is instead of spending 30 to 60 minutes a night watching foolish fantasy football, Mercedes-Benz camper van videos, political videos, spend that time proactively commenting on other people's posts, proactively sending messages, proactively posting inspirational stuff. And if you were to do that, let's say that you had an hour time tonight, 1 hour.
Yeah.
Take us through your 1 hour time. Are you going to spend 30 minutes on LinkedIn, 10 minutes on Facebook? I mean, kind of take us through your ratio of time spent on different social media sites.
Yeah, it's a great question, but let me preface my answer. I'm not that anal retentive. Okay. I am very much in touch with my intuition.
Yeah.
So I follow my intuition. And my intuition says, Kev, you might want to spend a little time on LinkedIn building some relationships with business people, then I go do that. If my intuition says, post a chess picture on Facebook and ask people if they can solve. So I don't see, embedded in the question you just asked, Patrick, was an implied understanding that having this all mapped out is important. And I'm saying, no, it's really not. I'm saying your intuition knows where to go if you just listen to it. And if my primary focus is I just want to be happy. Well, I can only give what I have. So I notice, Patrick, if I treat you like crap, you're going to probably treat me like crap.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I'm going to suck up to you and kiss your butt. It just means I see in you the divine. So why wouldn't I treat it like the divine? Right. But if I look at you as somebody that can get me something, or then the relationship's starting off on the wrong foot to begin with. So I just say to myself, I'm a pretty happy guy. Why don't I just spread that happiness and let it fall where it falls?
Yeah.
Oh, well, Kev, I need more of a strategy than that. Do you? Show me the evidence. Anytime you open your mouth, your brain is on parade. Well, Kevin, I need this and this and this. Really? Can you back that up with evidence? Because I can show you how actually slowing down your mind and being a little bit happier is going to lead you to a lot more money and a lot more of what you want in life. But initially, that sounds crazy because it's very counterintuitive.
Yeah.
It's helpful to remember that most of the world is sleepwalking. But I'm not saying that I'm Neo in the Matrix.
Yeah.
I'm saying when you really look around and you go, look at what all these people are doing and they're still not happy. Maybe that's a clue. Maybe I ought to just sit for 5 or 10 minutes per day and just kind of watch my mind and not believe every damn thing that comes into my head and start to look at my thoughts the way I watch a cat play with a ball of yarn.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then maybe I might start to get some clarity around maybe I shouldn't believe every damn thing I think. Maybe I should really remember that people are beautiful divine creations of God and I should treat them as such. That doesn't mean be a doormat. It doesn't mean make stupid business decisions. It doesn't mean give away the farm. But if you really understand that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to people they know, like, and trust, then creating sincere and authentic know, like, and trust becomes your primary focus in life.
Yeah. All right. I got two.
I think Mark Madison put his hand up.
Yeah. I got a two-part story here. And Mark, go ahead with some comments if you want to unmute. Go right ahead, Mark.
Well, I would just like to tell a story about Kevin. And to me, this really illustrates the kind of person he is. I was sitting in the Nashville airport after having presented to a couple hundred people, and I was entering names in the database for my e-zine, and he calls. And so I saw it was Kevin. So I said, "Hey, what's up, buddy?" And he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm sitting in the Nashville airport entering names in my database." He said, "Why?" I said, "Because it has to be done." He said, "No, why are you doing it?" And I said, "What?" And he goes, "That's a $10 an hour job. Why don't you pay somebody to do it? And you could be reading a book right now." hello, I've never entered a name since then, and that was 8 years ago, and I have 8,000 subscribers, and somebody else entered all those names so I could read a couple of books a week.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kev.
You're
And you've
welcome.
probably written about 7 books since that time too.
Well, 8, but who's counting?
Mark, tell them the story about the doormat.
Oh my gosh. So we have a condo in Chelan, Lake Chelan, Washington, right? And we don't get over there as often as we'd like to. And one day, my wife and I excited, and our doormat's gone. It's not in front of the thing. It's next door. I said, what the heck? So I moved it back where it belonged because it was our doormat. And the next morning, it's back over there again. It's like a nightmare. It's like a Twilight Zone episode. So finally, I knocked on the door, and this little kid's like 5, 6 years old. And I said, stop stealing my doormat. He said, that's our doormat. And I started arguing with a 5 or 6 year old kid, and he slams the door in my face. Kevin calls me. I swear to God, he calls me like half an hour later. He goes, what's up? I go, I just got in an argument with a 5-year-old over doormats. He goes, I'm all twisted up. I don't know what to do. Should I call the landlord? It's our condo. I own it. He goes, Mark, how much do doormats cost? I said, I don't know, 10, 15 bucks. He goes, why don't you go to Ace Hardware and buy a new doormat? Then you can relax and read a book. Thanks, Kevin.
The answer is always in simplicity.
Or the answer is always relax and just read a book.
I still don't know, like, or trust that kid, though. I'm just going to say.
Yeah, the kid was probably a jerk, but he didn't know any better.
Oh my God.
He was 5.
And arguing
And
is
he
for
thought his watch was telling the right time.
Now, some people would hear this. Now, some people will watch this interview in the future, and they will be so committed to being right that they will go, I had to lose $15 and it wasn't right. Oh, get over yourself. Mark was wrapping himself up in these mental knots, and he could have just been like, oh, obviously the kid's a numbnuts. Let me just go buy another doormat, you know? By the way, did you notice in the 2 stories, Kevin called out of the blue and said, how are you doing? Or what's up?
What are you doing? He said, what are you doing?
So so part of every day, and this is going to sound crazy, but I don't care. Part of every day I have built into my calendar, and I still use the same Franklin planner I've had since 1992. Okay. Here it is. Okay. Here's the same Franklin planner I've been using for 30 years plus or whatever. Every day I sit for about 10 or 15 minutes and I just let names come into my mind. And then I either call them or email them or text them and just go, hey, Mary West, you just popped into my mind. I take that as a clue from the universe that maybe I should say hi. What's up, sister? I've never had anybody reply to me, screw you. They all go, hey, it's so great to hear from you, Kev, but I'm not doing it with an agenda. Oh, well, yeah, actually I am. The agenda is the universe popped you into my head out of 8 billion people. Maybe I should just say hi. So when I called Mark in the airport, I wasn't doing it because I wanted something from Mark. It was just, hey, your name popped in my head. I called you. Hey, Mark, what's up? What you doing, man? Oh, Kev, I'm sitting in the Nashville airport. What do you do? You know, I'm just spreading love.
Kevin, I promise the next time you call, I'll say, screw you.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
That way you'll feel better.
I'll feel like I'm back in Jersey, you know? So.
Thanks for letting me interrupt, Patrick.
Do you guys realize that life is the easiest thing you've ever done? You've been lifing for quite a while, Robin Stern, and you have 100. When you woke up this morning, you beat your personal record for most consecutive days alive.
Good for me. Yay, me.
Why do people make life so difficult? I know the answer.
They're idiots.
Because they don't understand life. They have not put time and attention and focus into understanding life. But I'm not saying you have to be Aristotle or some, deep philosopher. It's just that life is the easiest thing you've ever done. There might be a lesson in there.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to share a 2-part story, and I need some answers or advice on this. Recently launched a course on Udemy. And Udemy is a platform all over the world where you can put your courses on there.
Yeah.
I get a message and it says, "Dear sir, I can help you promote your Udemy. Please reach out."
Yeah.
And it came on WhatsApp. And I'm like, I don't know this guy. And I'm like, I don't know who he is. I don't know what his website is, his name. I don't know anything. So I responded back to you. And I just, and I said, "Who are you?" And he responded, "Oh, I help people with their Udemy." And I'm like, "No, who are you?" I said, "What is your name? What is your website? What is your background? What experience do you have? How about a photo, first name, last name, and whatever else?" And he said, "Hold on, I can get you all of those things." And then he responded 10 minutes later with a whole laundry list. And it turns out it was like an 18-year-old kid from West Africa. And then I became his biggest fan. I'm like, "I want to help you in the future. Tell us your name, your background, your testimonials, your website." And now I'm going to have my technical guy talk with him because maybe he knows something that I don't. So I see that a lot. But here's my biggest pet peeve. And I don't know how to handle this. Somebody adds me as a friend on Facebook the other day. I look at his profile. It says he's a coach, good looking guy, face made for TV, just like you, Kevin. And I'm like, wow, he's a coach. Now he doesn't know that I've been a coach for like 30 years, but he's like a coach, and I want to affiliate myself with that. So I add him. He says, "Thanks for the ad." And then the first thing he said, "I was attracted to your profile. Have you ever felt like you're on the brink of a major breakthrough, but something invisible is holding you back? Question mark." And so I respond and I say, "Oh, I see you're a coach as well. I've been a coach for a long time, and it's awesome to meet other coaches." And then he replies back with a thumbs up. And about three days later, "You didn't answer my question. Have you ever felt like you're on the brink of a major breakthrough, but something invisible is holding you back?" And he's trying to get me, who's been a coach for 30 years, to like do a complimentary session with him, and he's been a coach for 30 days. So how do I handle this when people go right for the sales pitch and they just want to meet for coffee, they want to get together? I don't want to be disrespectful. They might be a wonderful person. How do I handle that? How should you handle that? What advice do you have there? And the second part of that question is, how do we get to the point where we make an offer to others, but we don't sound aggressive or salesy in doing it?
Yeah. Thank you for asking me a question with a 20-hour answer. A lot of what I teach is rooted in a 3-step system. The first step is you have to have ways to find and be found by the right people that you want to do something with. Number 2 is you have to be able to get them into a conversation without them showing you the door. And step 3 is you have to have ways to stay in communication with them without becoming creepy, a stalker, or repelling them. The guy that found you accomplished step 1 for you. He showed up in your email or on Facebook or however he did that. He attempted step 2. He asked you a yes or no question and you gave him a dissertation as an answer. But because I'm not saying my listening skills are better than yours. I'm saying he asked you a yes or no question and you did not answer the question. And then you actually said to me, he responded with, "You did not answer my question." Interesting, right? So the way that we communicate, there's no right and wrong answer to this, Patrick. The way that Kevin Knebl will communicate with human beings might be a little different than the way Patrick Snow will do it, but it would be really helpful to understand the underlying principle, okay? So if the guy had sent me that, by the way, I wake up every morning, I look at my email just like everybody else watching this. It's full of spam, and I convert some of those spam people into paying clients. I don't just go delete, 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 because when they show up in my inbox or in my Facebook account or in my LinkedIn account, they've already accomplished step 1 in my 3-step system. They have entered my awareness. Now we go to step 2. If something is going to happen, a conversation has to take place. So I say to myself, how do I get a conversation started with this person? I don't spend an enormous amount of time. I'm not wasting hours of my day. But because I've been doing this since dinosaurs were around, it's very simple for me to copy and paste a template and change the first name or a word or two. "Hey, Bob, thanks so much for your email. I'm not quite sure how I showed up on your distribution list, but I don't believe in accidents. Here we are. Real quick question. Does this approach typically lead to client acquisition for you? Hope you're having a wonderful day, Kev." If they don't respond, I guess we're done. If they do respond, then we are now in step 2 of the 3-step system. We are now in a conversation. But I'm not trying to do some remote, reverse psychology ninja trick on them. I'm just opening up a conversation. And because I have pretty good conversation skills, I can kind of move that ball if I want to move it. But I don't overthink any of it. I just go, here's a human being that has entered my awareness. Let me at least attempt to start a conversation. And because I've been studying conversation skills for 30 years, I'm pretty good at it. Maybe I can show them that I could help them in some way without, I know this sounds ridiculously simple, but it is ridiculously simple. The answer is never in complexity, right? So what I guess the answer to your question, Patrick, is sometimes people enter our awareness, but they don't appear to be beautiful divine creations of God, but that's an illusion. That doesn't mean that I should treat them like garbage, but it also means I shouldn't, it doesn't mean I tolerate abuse. It just means out of 8 billion people on this planet, this person just showed up in my awareness. If anything's going to happen, it's going to be the result of a conversation, 100%, just like gravity, no exceptions. Why don't I at the least try to, you see, the way I really help people make so much money, Patrick, is I help them get into so many conversations with so many people that even if they screw up the conversations, the law of averages has their back. The reason people struggle is because they're trying to mother hen deals. This one's going to hire me for a speaking engagement, and this one's going to hire me for, and I'm like, no, just go spread seeds. Jesus, when he did the Sermon on the Mount, and he talked about dropping seeds on the ground, and some of them grow and some of them don't grow. That was an MBA in client acquisition and sales.
Wow.
He didn't say, try to control the weather, try to control the soil composition. I'll take Jesus's entire sermon and I'll summarize it for you. Here it is. Plant your ass off. That's what Jesus said. Well, he probably said, plant thy ass off. Okay.
Oh God.
Why is it so why do I never worry about my next client? Because I just plant my ass off. I can't control the rain, I can't control the snow or the weather, but I can control my attitude and I can control my work ethic. And ironically, that's all I need to control. If I can control my attitude and my work ethic, I am the house in Vegas.
You guys see what I'm talking about? I had Mr. Kevin Knebl present at my Becoming a Best-Selling Author workshop, 3-day seminar in Denver about 12 years ago. And he just, it was a mic drop moment. It was like 2.5 hours of this wisdom, one bit after another, and you've only gotten better. So I'm going to challenge all of you listening, whether you're live or into the future, send him an email, kevin@kevinknebl.com. Kevin@kevinknebl.com. Request his LinkedIn Ninja Tips.
And send me a LinkedIn invitation to connect on LinkedIn. And by the way, wisdom as it relates to me is WISDUMB. Wisdom. People are trying too hard to be smart. Go back to being a dumb kid and being innocent. And falling in love with people and showing people that you care about them. And that's not dumb, by the way. That's wise. Wisdom.
So do you offer a complimentary coaching consultation on mastering these social media skills? If so, you want to share your number, your email? What's the best way to people reach out for you for that?
I do. I build time into my calendar every day that I'm not on the road to do complimentary, not as a pitch for my coaching or my speaking. I do it as a way to pay it forward. Not because I'm trying to be Mother Teresa or Gandhi, not because it's a clever marketing funnel. I don't do any marketing, right? So I don't even have a funnel, right? So yes, if anybody would like to get an hour or two with me on Zoom for any reason, whether it's about LinkedIn, whether it's something, life in life coaching realm, executive, whatever, if you think that I could deliver value to you in some way, that's just nothing more than my evidence that somehow God put us in. That doesn't mean we have to become new best friends, but let's at least have a conversation. Who knows? So I'm easy to find. Kevin Knebl, KNEBL.com. My website's out of date, but who cares? You can email me at kevin@kevinknebl.com. You can friend me on Facebook. You can friend me on Twitter or Instagram or LinkedIn. I'm on those platforms. I'm not hard to find. Send me a card in the mail. Send me an old school paper card or whatever. Send me a text. My phone number's right there, 719-650-7659. I'm in the conversation and relationship building business. Let's rock.
What about professional speaking? How can someone get you on their stage? How do they reach out for that? Same thing?
They just ask.
Just ask. There we go. All right.
Did you notice how I did not overcomplicate the answer?
Yeah. Love it.
Hey, Patrick, have you ever gotten a speaking engagement in your life that didn't come from a conversation?
Almost never.
Yeah, interesting, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Well, we're going to finish up with this question on Unstoppable. This program is called the Patrick and Mary Unstoppable Author Interview Series. Mary and I have been running together as business partners for over 20 years. I think we're 22, 23, 24. And her middle name is Mary Unstoppable West. And we started renaming her Mary I Am Unstoppable West. So this program is based on her whole mindset. So before we ask you to define that word unstoppable, anything else you want to share? Anything that we missed? Any other nuggets of wisdom that are on your mind that you want to, lead off with as we close today?
I will go right back to the basics. I'll say, take this uttered by Bob Berg. All things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to people they know, like, and trust. Write it on a 3x5 card or something. Keep it in front of you, and every day, just take a couple minutes and just look at that sentence and go, what does that really mean? And how do I create real know, like, trust? If you will, you see, small efforts repeated over time produce massive results. If you will take a little bit of time every day and just focus on that sentence and go, maybe I don't fully understand that sentence at the level I need to, not because I'm stupid, but because I just haven't put time and attention and focus on understanding it. If you will look at that, you will be amazed at the thoughts that come into your mind. Some of them will lead to nothing. Some of them will lead to millions of dollars. But you need to focus on understanding, not just intellectually, but experientially, how do I sincerely and authentically create know, like, trust? I would predict if you will do that, there will be certain things in your daily routine that you will start to realize this really isn't leading to know, like, trust, and it's really just a time suck. Maybe I don't need to do those things. The universe will open itself to you if you're not ADHD off the charts and just going bing, 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 bing. Just go focus on that statement. How can I create, nurture, and deepen sincere and authentic? When you sincerely want any question you sincerely want to know the answer to, the universe or God or whatever word you want to use, the answer, knock and it will be opened, ask and it will be given. You just need to focus on that and let your mind will come up with genius that you don't even know you have, but you do. You do.
I love it. Plant and it shall grow. And remember, arguing is for
Amateurs.
Amateurs. Listening is for
Professionals.
Listening is for what?
Professionals.
Listening is for arguing for amateurs. Listening is professionals. Kevin, this has been amazing. Massive, intense amount of value today. I could go on for 3 hours with this, but unfortunately, we have to come to an end. How do you define the word unstoppable?
Oh, that's a great question. Unstoppable would be understanding that the only thing that could ever stop me is a misunderstanding of mind and thought.
I love it. I love it. All right, you guys, kevinknebl.com. Go to kevin@kevinknebl.com to get the LinkedIn ninja tips that are applicable for all the social medias. One last question I forgot to ask you.
Yeah.
Your take on TikTok and YouTube. Are you a big fan of those? Or you just kind of stay away because you don't really, what's your take on that? Seems like video's taking over.
Yeah, I'm not on TikTok, but I'm not putting it down. I'm just not on it. I love YouTube. I don't think I've uploaded a video to YouTube in probably close to 10 years, but I watch hours of YouTube every day. I probably should upload some stuff on there. So again, I look at it very simple. These are communication channels. If you understand communication skills, you can use any communication channel to your advantage. If TikTok resonates with you, go do TikTok. If LinkedIn resonates with you, go do, or if you're going to go fishing, go where the fish are. But the answer is not in me understanding the electronics in my phone. The answer is me understanding my conversation skills through the phone. It's not about, I need to get 10 million followers. No, if you're an asshole, before you get on TikTok, now you're just an asshole with 10 million followers on TikTok, right? So it's never about the communication tool. It's always about the communication.
And you know what? As long as you brought that up, I know we're going over time, but I'm just flabbergasted by how many people are so impressed by so-and-so because they have so many followers. I think fake followers, they're always doing this. They're always looking behind, trying to count how many followers they have. Real followers could care less. Real followers never even look behind them. So what's your take on this whole social media following? Oh, he's got 2 million followers. She's got 5 million followers.
I'd rather have 500 people that could pick me out of a lineup than 10 million people that couldn't pick me out of a lineup. I'm not impressed with numbers. I'm impressed with know, like, trust.
Yeah.
10 million followers isn't going to pay your mortgage. Know, like, trust is going to pay your mortgage. The answer is never in complexity. It's always in simplicity. Create, nurture, and deepen sincere, authentic, know, like, trust, and everything else will take care of itself.
I love it. I love it. Massive value. Let's give Kevin a big hand.
Thank you. Thank you. We should do this every week.
Oh, I love it. We'd have to have you back again soon.